Alright, so hi, my name is Toya, and I am just going to do a daily self-talk or like a daily message type of a situation. So I kind of came to this conclusion from sitting back and just fully understanding and grasping the who am I walk and owning it and then knowing who you are. So I wrote this poem, and the poem was called A Cup of Love, right? And it had a reference to it that was about the World Cup. I'm not gonna read it because I don't have it in front of me anyway, so, but I posted it nonetheless. But it did have a reference to it that spoke on about the World Cup. And so, hold on. Okay, so anyway, sitting outside, so you have to pause it here and there. So it made me think about a situation that I encountered actually this week. And at first I was like, nah, I don't really want to talk about it because it was kind of personal in a sense. And so I felt like, not really wanting to discuss it. But what I realized was that it is a part of everything that has happened up until today, which it is Saturday, July something, 10th, 11th, I don't know. Anyway, but it's Saturday. So I was sitting down at the beach, and it was one day this week, like Tuesday, Wednesday, something like that. And so I was sitting down at the beach and I'm eating some lunch, and this homeless man came by. I didn't have any extra containers, and I actually felt really bad because he asked me, he said, do you have some change to spare? I was like, no, I'm sorry, I don't have any change. And then he asked, well, can you spare some food? I was actually kind of surprised that he even asked that, because a lot of times homeless people don't ask for food. I usually just give them food anyway. So he actually asked, but then I felt bad because I didn't have the container, right? So I said, I'm so sorry. I was like, I would love to give you some food, but I don't have a container to put it in. And so this man, he went in the trash can and found a container, and it was a little cup that someone had coffee in. And I gave him like pretty much half of my food and I had an extra spoon, and I don't even know why. Like, usually when I go, I'm always like, yeah, just give me like, both a spoon and a fork or whatever. And so he sat down next to me. He was eating his food. He was doing a little shimmy. I was sitting there like, yeah, I know, I feel you, because I'm like that too, right? It was good. It was very good. The food was fresh. It was hot. And so it made me think about what a cup of love looks like, right? A cup of love is meeting someone where they are. A cup of love is being able to break bread with another human being. Most people probably would have looked at it like, why are you sitting next to me? But I didn't look at him in that context. I looked at him as a human being, right? He's two guys sitting here sharing a meal, breaking some bread together. Except one of us knows who we are, knows that I am spirit walking in the flesh, and the other one not so much. And so I asked him what his name was. He told me his name, and his language and my language, it wasn't really blending too much, but I was just like happy to share that experience with him and to know his name, which was Aaron, by the way. But after that encounter, I was like, wow, you know what? I was excited about it, because I'm like, wow, a cup of love, like this is what that is. He improvised. He found something that would allow him to be able to have some food, and I love that. So after that encounter, literally like probably 15 minutes after that encounter, I'm talking to this guy, and he was getting ready to go to the airport. And so, but we were having a conversation prior to that, and he was getting ready to go to the airport. But we were talking about the World Cup, and he was telling me how, I think at this time Argentina was playing and Egypt was playing. And so he was saying how he wanted Argentina to win because there was a player on the team that was getting ready to retire or something to that extent. But he also said, but I'm good even if Egypt wins because Egypt is the underdog. And I told him, I was like, you know what? I said, I am for the underdog. So I'm gonna go for Egypt, but at the same time, I'm for everybody, So even if Argentina wins, I'm still here for it. If Egypt wins, all right, I'm for the underdog. So as soon as we had that conversation and that exchange, we literally witnessed a lady get hit by a car. I don't know how the lady did not see the girl crossing the street. I don't even remember if the girl was looking down at her phone when she was crossing the street. I'm not even sure. But the lady hit her so hard that you would have thought that she hit a car, because you could hear the impact, and then I saw the girl fly into the air. So, of course, now we're both concerned, and this other man comes, he runs out there and at least picks her up to get her out of the street. And, we go over, just to make sure that she's okay. And offer, information to the police as far as like ambulance is coming too, or police, whichever one, anyway. And to offer any information because of the body cam footage that would be necessary and helpful for what happened. So anyway, we was in Venice. I was in Venice, and the police, the ambulance, they came quick anyway. But I felt bad for her because I know her leg was broken, number one. She couldn't even move it. But it made me think about the underdog again. It took me back to that. It took me back to the World Cup and thinking of how she had just been taken out of the game completely, because now she has to deal with a broken leg from being hit by a car. And it just goes back to the whole, rooting for the underdog theme, right? Sometimes obstacles will get in our way. There will be things that resist our flow through life smoothly. But the underdog, this is why we root for them, right? Because they gonna get up and just keep pushing through it, keep moving forward. Because just because she has a broken leg, it doesn't mean it's the end of the world. Now, do I feel sorry for her? Of course. Nobody wants to have to suffer with a broken leg or suffer with the inconvenience of having to just be inconvenienced, right? Because we're talking about whatever her daily practices are, it's now been halted, and so now she has to move differently. And then it also made me think about how, because that guy, he was getting ready to take a flight, and then it made me think about a situation that happened to me one time when I was at the airport. Oh yeah, I was at the airport, and I'm dropping off someone, and I'm outside of my car closing the trunk down, and this lady hits me. She didn't hit me hard, but she did hit me. She tapped me. I called it a love tap, It was a love tap. She hit me in the leg too with her vehicle. And thank God it was a love tap versus we gonna take you out the game and put you on the bench, okay? Situation. I don't need that. But yeah. The girl, she was like, girl, did she just hit you? I was like, yes, but she felt bad about it too. You know what I mean? You're in a situation with the girl, right? The lady felt really bad because she really understood the severity of the situation, that she had really just hurt someone. She could have killed her, but thank God she didn't, but she did physically hurt someone. And in my situation, I wasn't physically hurt or anything like that. But the lady felt bad too, she felt that remorse, like, oh my God, I'm so sorry, did I hit you, are you okay, are you all right? And I'm just like, yeah, I'm fine, but yeah, but I had to learn that these are the stories that should be shared, even though we think that they should not be. Because in that moment with the girl, everybody came to help. And that's what the World Cup is, right? Everybody coming together, playing football, and even the players sometimes help out other players so that they don't get severely injured. Completely different from like hockey, right? Because hockey, they ain't playing, they fight. But when it comes to like the soccer or football, I've come across videos where those players do actually help out their opponents, and that's what unity and teamwork and camaraderie means. Banding together to, help an injured person or player, and even though it's a competition. So there's always levels to this life thing, right? You clear one level and then you go to the next level. Clear that level, you go to the next level. There gonna always be levels. There will always be obstructions. And as long as you know how to maneuver through and around, then you can make it to the next level. I went on my walk around the reservoir today, and I saw a coyote. And before I got there, I was thinking about Ganesh, and I was thinking about how Ganesh is the obstacle remover, right? That God in the Hindu faith that removes obstacles. There is no stopping. You know, Ganesh, there is no stopping. And his face is an elephant face, which represents intellect and wisdom and knowledge and just not forgetting things, right? Because we all know that elephants do not forget things. They remember. So elephants are very wise. And they are very determined and strong creatures, beautiful creatures. But I also saw a coyote. And what made me connect the two is that the coyote and both Ganesh are very similar in what they represent. One comes from Native American tradition, one comes from Hinduism. And they both are obstacle removers, as well as being obstacle setters too. They can set their own obstacles, but they also can remove those obstacles, maneuver around them, find a different way. They're both very wise creatures, and they're both very playful, childlike nature, joyful. And they both also wear masks, because Ganesh has an elephant face and the coyote is a trickster spirit, right? But still just very playful. It doesn't mean anything bad. That mischievous nature. We look at those words sometimes and think, instantly something negative. But it's not always that. It's not always a negative connotation. It represents that perfect cup of love, whether it's meeting someone where they're at, banding together to help someone else out, or leading someone across to the other side, or helping them to make it to the finish line. That's what a cup of love represents. Being able to see all aspects of life, see it as God's energy, and just accept it for what it is. And understand that nothing that is put in your way can ever stop you unless you allow it to. So I think I'm gonna leave it there. We're like 19 minutes right now. Yeah, so once again, my name is Toya. It's been a pleasure. Peace, love, and light. Hopefully you'll come back for the next talk. Bye for now.